Forbes India and Indeed present Top 30 Talent Leaders of 2024.
Wow, that's a packed room. Welcome, everyone. And Gautam, of course, welcome. Thank you so much for joining us today. Since the conversation today is about celebrating top leaders, let me begin by asking you, in your experience, how challenging is it to find, develop, and nurture the right talent, particularly in cricket?
Look, finding a talent in any space is very, very important.
Absolutely.
For me, I think first and foremost quality of being a leader is that leader creates leaders. It is not about only thinking about himself. It is about creating an environment where you create other leaders as well. And leadership is no rocket science. Leadership is about your ability to take decisions. What stops from an individual from becoming a leader is his inability to take decisions. Very early in my life, I realized that, a lot of times you take a decision thinking that, what if it goes wrong? With the right intent, if you take a wrong decision, it's acceptable. Because if you're doing something good for the organization and if it backfires, it's absolutely fine. I must have taken a lot of wrong decisions in my life, but I can definitely put my hand on my heart and say that most of those decisions were taken with the right intention. And that is something which I always believe, that to be a leader, your ability to take decisions is the first and foremost quality of being a top-class leader.
Wow, that's very well said. And you've had a wonderful journey in the field of cricket, from being a successful cricketer to a captain, and now, of course, a mentor. Tell us about this journey that you've had, and what would you say is sort of the secret behind longevity?
I wish I could have given you any of my secrets, to be honest, because there are not many secrets which I have. See, for me, I think one thing which I had always been very, very strong on was honesty, because the leadership should be built on honesty, accountability, and responsibility.
Yeah.
And for me, I think the most important quality of a leader is to be honest. And that is something which has stayed with me for a very long period of time, since I started playing the game, to then getting into the public space, to then becoming a mentor. One thing that has stayed with me was honesty. And that is something which, whichever organization I've been part of, I make sure that there is the right communication and there's a lot of honesty. And more importantly, I think create that environment where you should be answerable, and more importantly, if someone else has something to say to you, he should be free to say that.
Yeah.
So that is something which is very important. And I hope that, I think honesty is something which has been the foundation of being a very strong leader. And with honesty comes a lot of accountability as well, because once you're in that position, it is very important to be accountable. And accountability starts from the top. It doesn't start from the bottom. A lot of times we end up passing on the buck as well when things don't go right. But the most important thing, if things don't go right, you should have the courage to put your hand up and say that, yes, you've messed it up.
Yeah.
What? Human beings are bound to make mistakes. I must have made a lot of mistakes, but I've always put my hand up and say, yes, I have messed it up.
Yes.
So that is something that gives you a lot of mental strength as well. And when you are honest and you're accountable, I think a lot of other things are byproducts. When people see the organization, or in my profession, if the franchise I was associated with, when they get the results, they feel that they only look at the byproduct or the end product.
Yeah.
But to get that end product, there are so many other factors which are equally important. What I just mentioned, honesty, accountability, responsibility, because it's the person at the top who should be made accountable for the good decisions or the bad decisions as well. More importantly, for the bad decisions if things don't go your way, because in our day and age, and our profession, or in our country, more importantly, I think whenever things go bad, I think it starts from the bottom. It should never start from the bottom. It should start from the top, and the person sitting at the top should be made accountable.
Absolutely. And, we were, when it comes to not just your journey as a cricketer, but since the time you were playing, cricket has also evolved massively, and we were just talking about this earlier. There is a lot of focus on data and analytics. What's your take on the same?
We spoke about it a couple of minutes back. Yes, we did, and I think I would want to. So you're asking this question to a very wrong person. I've never, ever got into data and analytics. Never. In fact, I've always gone with my instincts. When I was playing to when when we were building a team from the scratch for Lucknow, or even with, to be honest, with KKR,
Yeah.
I had never gone to a video analyst all my life when I was playing. The only time I went to a video analyst was to get my good knocks so that I can look into those good knocks and sleep properly rather than looking into all my bad knocks or the dismissals and stuff. We were discussing that and it's a really good story which I want to share. In fact,
Yes.
when we were building this team from the scratch for Lucknow Super Giants, when I was involved with them, in fact, you won't believe that I had built that team before the auction on the register. I had written that 15 or 20 on that register with a pencil, and when we went for the auction, literally we were able to pick 18 out of those 20 people which I had written in my register from coming from my office back home. And actually, that entire team was built in the car.
Yeah.
So I had never gone to a video analyst thinking that what are the stats, what are the performances, what are the averages, and all this stuff. You know, the best decision making is when you listen to your instincts and then you back those instincts, because that's for me, I think, has been my biggest strength.
That's fantastic. I think that's very well put. I think that deserves a massive round of applause and just shows what a fantastic leader Gautam is. One of the common features that's often spoken about champions is their ability to get it out of their comfort zone. If you can talk a bit about that in terms of how you've done that in your career and your learnings from the same.
See, my ability to get out of my comfort zone happened very early in my life. In fact, I actually never wanted to be a cricketer. I always wanted to get into the army. That still remains my first love.
Yes.
So when I was not pushed, but then I remember when I was in 12th, I wanted to go in NDA after 12th, and I started doing really well when I was in 12th. I was selected to play Ranji Trophy. In my second game, I got runs, and then I was selected to go to NCA. And then that was my, in fact, first time when I was actually pushed into my not being in that comfort zone, because all my life I had thought about that my profession, where I see myself, is being in the army. But then when I had to make cricket my profession, that is something which I was pushed out of my comfort zone. And then what happened was what happened. It was all destiny. But more importantly, to get out of your comfort zone, I think you need to tell yourself day in, day out that you need to be the best you can be. And that is exactly what I did when I played to the last day of my cricketing career. I wanted to be the best possible person that I can be. And I wanted to be the best. I wanted to compete with the best in the world. And that is something that kept pushing me out of my comfort zone, because every time I went for my practice sessions, I used to make it really, really tough. Sometimes what happens is people say that, it's not important to practice every day. But for me, I think making practice sessions as tough as possible was pushing myself out of my comfort zone. And that made it much, much more easier when the pressure came, especially those big moments when those big occasions came in. I thought that I had done that day in, day out. So it was nothing new for me.
Yeah.
And more importantly, I've said it many times that when people ask me this question, that what was my mindset when those big occasions came? For me, the mindset was exactly the same, because for me, occasions did not matter. And it should never matter to anyone. For me, I think the point was when I picked up the bat because I wanted to hit the ball. I picked up the bat. For me, I think coming back after scoring runs back home was something that used to give me happiness.
Yeah.
So it really didn't matter whether I was playing for my club, whether I was playing for my colony, or I was playing for Delhi or franchise or India. So when you start differentiating between occasions, then you start putting pressure on yourself, because the contest remains the same. Whether I'm playing the World Cup final or whether I'm playing a Ranji Trophy game, the contest is not the occasion. The contest is between bat and ball. And that never changes. And that will never change. So that's why when people ask that, how should you, for example, if you go into a big game, what should be your mindset? The mindset should be try and win that particular contest and stay in the present. Because the more you start thinking about the past and the more you start thinking about the future, I think past is something which will never come back. Future is something which hasn't happened.
Yeah.
So the mental toughness, see, this word mental toughness has been used a lot. That what is mental toughness? Mental toughness is nothing. Mental toughness is trying to stay in that one particular moment, because that is the only thing that you can control. You cannot control what has gone, and you cannot control what's going to happen. It is easier said than done, but you have to train that day in, day out. If your mindset becomes like that, where you are right in the present, I think most of the other things can take care of itself.
Absolutely. Wow, that's, I think, wonderfully put. Coming back to leadership, a cricket team is formed with various characters, people coming from different places, different attitudes. Um, as a leader, not just on field, but off field also, how do you sort of galvanize these different characters and turn them into a cohesive unit?
Look, I think it's important to build culture. So when you build a culture, whoever comes from wherever he comes from, he has to accept that culture. So for me, it is not important that who comes from where, what background he comes from. If an organization has a certain culture and someone comes from outside, he has to adopt that culture.
Yes.
Culture is not made out of an individual. It is made out of a lot of people together, walking the same path, trying to achieve the same objective. That is what builds the culture. And that is why when people say that, franchise cricket is difficult, yes, it is difficult, but not as difficult as building the culture. Because if you have the team first philosophy, if individuals do not matter, if it is all about the team first ideology, I think most of the other things are easy to handle. But for that, everything needs to be treated equally. I have always believed in a team sport, individuals do not really matter. And I know I've taken a lot of flack for that as well, but that is how team sport is need to be played. Because if everyone is working for the same objective, how can we differentiate between individuals? And I remember that, and all these things happen because of my experiences.
Yeah.
See, leadership, you become a leader by your experiences, not just because you end up reading a book or something. It's your experiences that makes you a leader.
Yeah.
So very early in my life, I realized that with my experiences that you cannot differentiate between individuals. If you want to differentiate between individuals, might as well play an individual sport. But if you're playing a team sport, I think no senior, junior, no domestic, no international, nothing.
Yeah.
For me, I think that is something which I always believed in, and that is something which has actually worked for me.
Yeah.
And that is something which has worked for the organizations I've worked for. True. So hopefully, I think it can continue that way as well in future.
Absolutely. Is that also like an impact-led approach? Is that also a change that you made, this year when you joined KKR as a mentor?
So I don't know what I changed, but one thing I changed for sure is that I made Sunil Rana open the batting.
Oh, definitely. I think. Yeah.
He was very reluctant.
Oh.
He didn't want it to. And in fact, when I actually went to Kolkata on the 14th, when I was talking to all the other support staff guys, I said that is what I'm thinking. He said he's not going to listen, he doesn't want to open anymore. I said, let me give it a shot. We go a long way back in our relationship, so I went up to him and I told him that, how about opening the batting? He looked at me and said that, if you want me to, I said, go for it.
Wow,
and that is something
that's
which
it.
is very, so that's the relationship as well, but on a serious note, yes, I think the simple ideology is the results do matter.
Yes.
It does matter because that's the kind of profession I am in. That for me, I think, I don't believe in all this that, we gave everything, results don't matter. For me, it does matter because I want to come back in a winning dressing room.
Yes.
And I want to be a winner every time I walk onto the cricket field.
Yeah.
I can't help it. See, I'm not a corporate, I'm not someone, a Bollywood actor who would end up looking at the numbers, that how much profit have I made and all that stuff.
Yeah.
For me, it's about how many points do I have on the points table.
Yeah.
Where is my team on the points table? That is all that matters. Play within the spirit of the game, play fair, play hard, but yes, ultimately, all about results.
Absolutely. Thank you for saying that because, that's my next question, which is, you love to win, right? And but
Everyone loves to win.
Of course, everyone loves to win.
Me, maybe a little bit more.
But when you're, not just cricket, any sport for that matter, I think losses are part and parcel of what you do. So in such difficult moments, in disappointing losses, how do you deal with that?
How do I deal with losses? I deal with losses very badly, honestly.
Really?
It stays with me for a very long period of time till the time I don't end up winning the next game. But then again, I think, see, all you can do is try and give everything possible, and try and, more importantly, be able to come back in the dressing room and be able to see your teammate and say that, yes, I gave everything, rather than just coming back and say, what if I would have done that? There is nothing, what if I would have done that? If you think that you have to do something, might as well just do it there and then, rather than coming back and having a regret sitting in a dressing room. Every time I've come back in a dressing room, I've never had regret. I've lost more games than I've won. That's the reality. I've actually failed more than I've succeeded. I've lost more games than I have won. But never, ever have got back in my dressing room thinking that I regret this. The only time I did that was once, and that was the only time I couldn't sleep was in 2014, where I started the competition with 3 ducks in a row. 2014 IPL, in the 4th game, I actually pushed Manish Pandey to open the batting, and I batted at number 3, and he got a duck, and I got 1. And that was the only time I was actually trying to protect myself. And that was the only regret I had. We lost that game. I came back in the dressing room. I said that this is not how leaders behave. This is not how leaders lead. Trying to protect themselves. Leaders should be the first one to take the bullet rather than sending his colleagues in front. And that is the promise I made, that irrespective of what happens, I'm going to be the first one to take the bullet. And then that is the only regret I had in my cricketing career. Apart from that, yes, with all the losses, yes, I've taken it badly, but never had any regret not giving everything on the cricket field.
Wow, that's brilliant. And I think very few people can actually say that. Coming to my next question, which is, Indians have this unbreakable bond with cricket and politics, and you've excelled at literally both. Having stepped away from...
No, I haven't. I can never succeed in politics. I don't think so I can. A little bit, yes, I have in cricket, but not in politics.
All right. I was actually just going to ask you, what have been your learnings from your political career, and do you see yourself going back?
See, my learnings from political career was that there is so much to do in this country, and there is so much you can do for the country. And leadership is about giving, not taking. To be a leader, you should be a giver, not a taker. And that is the intention I went in the political space with. But sometimes what happens is that I have always lived my life in black and white. I've not had too many grays in my life, and I don't even honestly understand too many grays in my life. So the thing is, sometimes when you go in a profession which is completely different to how you lived your life, it takes time for you to adjust. And I tried it. At least one thing I can say is that I didn't give up. And I gave everything possible with absolute honesty and with the right intention. But yes, sometimes you have to take that decision that where exactly is your heart. And my heart was still with cricket, and hopefully got back in cricket again.
Yes, we're very happy you're back. Also, we have a couple of rapid-fire questions, so they're going to be fun and light, hopefully. So I'm just going to start right there. When you were in your prime playing for the Indian team, which player did you always look up to, and which player were you the most competitive against?
I was competitive?
Yeah.
Honestly, I looked up towards no one, because I've never had any cricketing idols, but the thing is, looked up to a little bit was Sachin Tendulkar, because that's how we all grew up with.
Yes.
Looking up to someone like Sachin Tendulkar.
Yes.
And obviously sharing a dressing room with him was always a great feeling, because all of us as a nation looked up to him at one point of time.
Yeah.
And competitive was, Mone Mokal was very competitive when I played against him.
Wow.
A lot of guys who were very, very competitive. Shoaib Akhtar was one. Shahid Afridi was one. So all these guys were very competitive. Australians were very competitive, but enjoyed every battle which I've had with all these guys.
And anyone from within the team
Competitive.
you felt?
I think Harbhajan Singh was competitive.
Right.
Yuvraj Singh was competitive. I had great relationships with both of them, but yes, they were competitive, and we played against each other when they played for Punjab and I played for Delhi.
Wow, did you have like a score that
Yeah, with UV a lot. Yeah, with UV a lot, because we go back to the under-19 days when we played against each other.
Wow.
And we go a long way back, but yes, he was competitive in his own way, though much more chilled out than I am. And but then again, on the cricket field was very, very competitive, because you wanted to try and probably outscore him every time you played against him.
Lovely, wow. If you were to describe your journey so far only in movie titles, or maybe one title,
Oh, movie title. Black. I wish I could have said black and white.
Yeah, fair enough. We've witnessed your talent on the cricket field, but do you have any hidden talents that we might not know of?
Too boring a person to have any hidden talents. The only hidden talent which I have is probably taking my daughters out for shopping. And I
Wow.
love doing that.
Really?
Yeah,
Wow.
that's my hidden talent. And
Truly a
and take them out shopping for as long as they want to shop because that
Wow.
is something which actually doesn't make me get tired.
Wow, that's a new one. I'm sure no one knew of that for sure. Among the current generation of cricketers, which player do you identify with the most?
With me?
Yeah, I mean, maybe you
Oh, that's
see
a very
yourself.
tough question. That's a tough question. Who do I? Young generation. I think the current Indian team with the
Yeah,
Oof.
maybe not just the current.
Yeah,
Indian team.
Shasvi Jaiswal because he opens the batting
Yeah.
and he's a left-hander as well. Yes, I can, and he plays aggressively as well.
For sure.
And he's got a really good future as well. So hopefully he can continue the way he's done and keep working hard because it is important for someone like him to have a longer career because he can create a lot of impact.
Definitely. Is there one bowler that you were afraid of facing?
I was never afraid of anyone, but I've had my own challenges facing a lot of bowlers, Murli Dharan, Mon Mokul, Andrew Flintoff, Shoaib Akhtar, Brett Lee, all these guys obviously had my challenges, but never honestly feared anyone.
Wow. What's the best or the funniest sledge you've ever heard on the field?
The funniest sledge was when I was playing my first Border Gavaskar trophy against Australia in Bangalore. Ricky Ponting said something, standing at City Point. So you haven't set the world on fire, something like that. And I became the man of the series in that series.
Wow. What a comeback. What's your fondest memory of playing in KKR and mentoring the team now?
See, every memory which I have with KKR has been very, very special to me.
Yes.
Especially from 2011 till 2017 when I was captaining them to now coming back after seven years. See, the most special memory is when I got back this year in KKR because, see, when you've had such a long break of 7 years and you've actually had so much of success with the franchise and then coming back and then KKR winning straight away after me coming back, it wasn't because of me again, it was because of the players. It's nothing to do with me. I could do what I could do and the support staff could do. Ultimately, it's the players that win the tournament. So this year has been very, very special and very memorable as well because it was literally like a script written
Yeah.
somewhere up because never thought that we could turn up and be so competitive and so good this year. So a lot of credit needs to go to every player and everyone sitting in that dressing room, from someone to the physio to the massios to everyone, because all those guys have contributed in the success of KKR this year.
Wow, fantastic. And what a homecoming that was for you, I'm sure.
Yeah, hopefully the fans are happy, people back in Calcutta are happy. That is what you play the sport for.
Yes, yes. If you could change one rule in cricket, what would it be and why?
Get rid of two new balls in white ball cricket. I think it has ruined white ball cricket completely. It has taken the skill away, especially from the spinner, which is very, very unfortunate. Two of the best finger spinners in the world have not played enough white ball cricket. That is Ashwin and Nathan Lyon.
Yes.
So imagine it is a job of the ICC to try and create every craft rather than diminishing a certain craft, which reverse swing has gone out of the window. Finger spinners have gone out of the window. And if it continues this way, I think in a couple of years, you will see no one picking up finger spin.
Wow.
And that is something which I think, which is something they need to change ASAP.
Yeah, for sure. I'm loving your honesty for sure. Just one last question for the rapid fire, which is, what's your favorite stadium to play in and why?
My favorite stadium is Mohali because I love the city. I love Chandigarh as a city.
Wow.
And yeah, Mohali is very close to my heart as well because I've got some really good runs. But that had nothing to do with why I like Mohali because I love Chandigarh. That's why I like Mohali as a stadium.
Great. Coming back to our questions around leadership, what are some key qualities that you think are essential for effective leadership?
Look, I've said it. I think the most important qualities are not being self-obsessed,
Okay.
That is something which you cannot be self-obsessed as a leader. I think to be a leader, I've said it that a leader needs to be a giver, can't be a taker, and leader is someone who keeps the team ahead of his own individual self, and more importantly, I think leaders should not be number obsessed. We've spoken about it.
Yes,
I
yes.
think number is, because in a country like India, it is all about numbers. You cannot be obsessed with numbers because for me, I think the profession that I come from, trust me, in next 4 or 5 years, I think people will stop looking at numbers. Everything will be about the impact, and that is how it should be. It is the impact that matters, not the numbers. If you can create that impact, I'm not talking about your profession, honestly, but from my profession where I'm sitting or where what I have to handle with, I have never been obsessed with numbers. I've always been obsessed with impact. If someone can create that impact, that is what will help you. So for me, I think the most important thing of a leader is, and in leadership is not being obsessed with numbers, and more importantly, not being self-obsessed as well.
Absolutely. And you've mentored such young cricketers. What is some advice that you would like to give to aspiring leaders?
Be yourself. Don't be scared of making mistakes. I think never be scared of making mistakes. And it's fine to make mistakes. Human beings are bound to make mistakes. I've always said that. I've done that all my life. I've made so many mistakes in my life that there are countless number of mistakes. But none of the mistakes have happened with wrong intention. All those mistakes, if it has happened with the right intention. And that's the reason why I could live with those mistakes. I've always come back in my room thinking that I can sleep in peace because even if I made a blunder, I made a blunder with the right intention. Not thinking about my own self, but thinking about the organization. If you're thinking about the organization and then you make a blunder or you make a wrong mistake, it's fine to live with that. But if you're thinking about yourself and then make a mistake, I think that is not acceptable. That is something which I've always told all the young leaders, everyone in the dressing room, and that is one advice which I would definitely want to give, is make a wrong decision and don't worry about it, but with the right intention.
Wow. And just one last question from my end. What's your all-time favorite cricketing memory that still makes you smile?
See, my all-time favorite cricketing memory has not been about 2 World Cups. It's about me playing in New Zealand, because never thought that someone like me who's been so impatient and could play for 2.5 days to save the test match. And that is something, when you asked me this question, that getting out of that comfort zone, that was something which I had to get out of myself, out of that comfort zone, because I had never imagined that was my first tour to New Zealand, that to save the test match, I had to bat for 2.5 days. Wow. And I literally batted for 2.5 days. And I remember my friend calling me on day 3, where I was unbeaten, and he said that you guys are going to lose this test match. And I said, I've got this funny feeling inside me that I think I'm going to bat for 2.5 days. He said, no way, you've never done that in your life. Actually, I've never batted for 2.5 days ever in my life, from school cricket to any form of cricket.
Yeah.
And doing it in a test match in New Zealand, and I don't know how it happened. It just happened because I got into that zone. I remember batting on day 5 with VVS Lakshman, and the session was between lunch and tea. And the tea happened, and we were walking back in the dressing room, and he told me, do you realize one thing? I said, what? He said, you have not uttered a word for 2 hours.
Wow.
And actually, I didn't realize it. He said, you have not spoken a single word. And that is the kind of zone I was in. And to be in that zone for 2.5 days.
Incredible.
And that is something which is the memory which is closest to my heart, because if someone tells me to do it again, I might not be able to do it again.
Wow. I think that's a fantastic note to end my questions on. Right, so we're going to open the floor to questions from the audience. Wow, hand went straight up. We're going to take just a couple of questions. So I think, gentlemen, right there, if we can.
Gautam, good to see you.
Pleasure.
My name is Nadeem. I work for Robosoft Technologies. When you achieve success, you get happiness, right? How do you stay normal? How do you stay grounded and make sure that you are well prepared for the next game or the next challenge, which is going to be much more difficult? How do you balance that situation? This is the question I have for you.
Because I know for a fact that I'll have more failures than success. So that keeps me grounded. Because you will always have more bad days than good days. There is no profession in this world, if you have the longevity, where you'll have more good days than bad days. I come from a profession where I've had much, much more bad days than good days. Had I had more good days, I would have averaged 90 or 99. Why everyone averages 40 is because they've got less good days and bad days, and that is something that keeps you grounded. Because that is something that pushes you to be better every day. And there is nothing called that you've played the perfect game. I have never believed that when these commentators or experts say this is the perfect game that a team or an organization has done, nothing. There is always room for improvement. And when you start thinking that there is always room to get better, that will always keep you grounded.
Thank you, Gautam. Thank you so much.
Sir, coming to you. Yes, sir.
Hi, Gautam. Rakesh here from Miles Education. My question might put you onto a spot, but this is more on young leaders mentoring or coaching senior players. One such example is Hardik Pandya, maybe leading the team from Bombay, Mumbai, and managing Rohit Sharma's of the world. So what could he do differently to see the success or the failure and manage Mumbai as a better Mumbai team as a better leader?
Look, first and foremost, treat Rohit Sharma and the youngest member of the dressing room exactly the same way. Absolutely exactly the same way. It is a tough job, but that is, leaders are bound to take tough decisions and are bound to do difficult things as well. That is why you're a leader. Otherwise, you will end up becoming a follower. Treat everyone equally, whether someone like Rohit Sharma, who leads India in all the formats, to winning 5 championships for Mumbai Indians. But if you're a leader, then you're a leader for everyone in that dressing room. You don't treat a Rohit Sharma differently to someone who's the youngest member in that dressing room. And to do that, you need to have a lot of self-belief, a lot of courage as well. And that is, for me, the first and foremost quality of being a true leader, because you're true to the entire squad or entire bunch of people sitting in that dressing room. You cannot have different rules and you cannot have different things for different individuals. Looking at the profile. You do not look at profiles when you want to become a leader. If you want to become a leader, profiles do not matter.
Again, move away from data, as you said.
I don't believe in it. I'm sure you guys do. I don't know what data is, to be honest, because it's all about my instinct.
Sure. Thank you.
Yeah, gentleman right there. So, one sec. If you can use the mic. Thank you.
So your surname and your personality is aligned.
Is it?
Gambhir and
Am
seriousness.
I that serious?
You told us that you're a serious guy, right? So what is the role of humor in leadership? The power of humor.
Massive. But everyone's got their own way of having, their own way of relaxing and having a crack, a joke. Sometimes you got to be yourself as well. The thing is, I know this question is that has been asked to me, I don't know how many times, and that I'm always intense, I'm always have a game face on, but what do? I want to win every time. Probably the only time I smile is when we win. And hopefully, I wish I was in some other profession, I could have smiled more. And I could have changed my surname as well.
Do your daughters make you humorous?
Yeah, 100%.
Thanks a lot.
They make me humorous, big time. In fact, my biggest relaxation is when I take them out shopping. That's my great stress buster.
Wow. Great. We'll just take one last question if... Okay, Okay. Sorry, we have 2 questions. Okay, sorry.
Gautam, does chance matter more or does skill matter more in batting?
Batting?
When you're batting and making a century or a 0, is it more chance or more skill?
Skill. And the reason why I say skill is because skill is something which you have to improve day in, day out. The more you work on your skill, the more chances you have to score runs. But if you only look at depending on chances, you will never be able to succeed. See this again, there's this word which a lot of these commentators and a lot of these other captains use, process. I do not understand this word process because for me, when I was growing up, practice is process. What you practice is what will give you results. So I don't understand when people say that, just look at the process, the results will matter, we only concentrate on process. For me, there are only 2 things in sport, that is practice and results. What I practice, and that's why I say skill is very, very important, and you keep working on your skill, I think everything else will take care of itself.
Great. Wow. I think that's all the time we have. I'm really sorry. But thank you so much, Gautam.
Pleasure's
I
mine.
think this was a wonderful conversation. And thank you all for being such a lovely audience.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Forbes India and Indeed present Top 30 Talent Leaders of 2024.